Senator from Nebraska.
Mr. President, thank you. In a few minutes, the United States Senate is going to have an opportunity to condemn infanticide. 100 United States senators are going to have an opportunity to unanimously say the most basic thing imaginable, and that is that it's wrong to kill a little newborn baby. Every senator will have the opportunity to stand for human dignity, to stand for the belief that in this country, all of us are created equal. Because if that equality means anything, surely it means that infanticide is wrong. Frankly, this shouldn't be hard. Politicians come to this floor every single day and talk about how they care for the poorest or the weakest or the most marginalized members of our society. In recent weeks, I've heard it stated this way, in powerful, eloquent, and from some ambitious senators, very clear terms about human dignity. One of my distinguished colleagues recently on the campaign trail declared rightly that, quote, "The people in our society who are the most often targeted by predators are also most often the voiceless and the vulnerable," close quote. Amen to that. Another Democratic senator seeking the presidency said, quote, "They seek to build a country where no one is forgotten and no one is left behind." Amen to that. Giving words of hope and encouragement, a third senator reminded us that, quote, "No matter where you live in America, you deserve a path to opportunity," close quote. Amen to that. A fourth continued that this individual was committed to, quote, "fight for other people's kids as hard as they would fight for their own," close quote. And yet again, amen. But sadly, in the last week, these beautiful and inspiring words have been choked out by the ugliness and the cruelty from another public official. In Virginia, disgraced Governor Ralph Northam tarnished the American idea of equality under law. He betrayed the universal truth of human dignity, and he turned the stomachs of civilized people, not just in this country, but in every country on earth. Governor Northam endorsed infanticide. Quote, here's what he said. Quote, "The infant would be kept comfortable, the infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired, and then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother," close quote. This was the quote, that the infant would be kept comfortable and resuscitated if that's what the mom and the doctors wanted to do, and then they could have a debate about what to do next. He was literally talking about allowing space and time for a discussion of infanticide. No euphemisms, no weasel words there. Infants could be kept comfortable and resuscitated, and also baby girls could be left cold and alone to die. Just a few years ago, the abortion lobby was really clear in its talk about hoping that abortion would be safe and legal, but rare. This was the slogan. Abortion would be safe, legal, and rare. Now we're talking about keeping a baby comfortable while the doctors have a debate about infanticide. That is what we're talking about here on the floor tonight. We're not talking about second trimester abortion. We're not having some big complicated discussion about a mother's reproductive freedom, as important as all those debates are. We are actually talking about babies that have been born. The only debate on the floor tonight is about infanticide. The abortion industry's PR army couldn't defend this. Many in the national media decided to try to overlook it, but none of us in this body can escape it. What we're talking about on the Senate floor tonight is infanticide. And instead of saying he misspoke, instead of offering an apology, the governor of Virginia decided to double down on the ugliness and the cruelty. This isn't about a clump of cells. This is about fourth trimester abortion. That's actually what we're talking about here tonight. Governor Northam is a disgraced coward, and he has such an abysmally low view of human dignity that he couldn't bring himself to say this basic truth. It's wrong to let little babies who've been born die. He couldn't say it. This isn't about Republicans and Democrats. We're way beyond that. Everyone in the Senate ought to be able to say unequivocally that the little baby deserves life, that she has rights, and that killing her is wrong. And tonight, every member of this body has that chance. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act prohibits exactly the kind of infanticide that Governor Northam was endorsing. That's it. That's what the legislation is about. It's based on the simple idea that every baby deserves a fighting chance. It's a simple idea that every human being is an image bearer. Even the weakest and the most marginalized among us are no less human, and every one of us has a moral obligation to defend the defenseless. It's my understanding that some of my Democratic colleagues are prepared to object tonight. I humbly say that I don't understand why, and I beg you from the bottom of my heart not to do so. Please don't betray the ideals that have been so eloquently expressed. Please don't reduce truths to an empty campaign slogan, and please don't take the principle of dignity and equality this cheaply. There are only two sides of the debate on the floor tonight. You're either for babies or you're defending infanticide. That is actually what the legislation is that's before us. Please don't block this legislation. Please don't let Governor Northam define you. Don't let an extremist pro-abortion lobby and pledge hold you hostage. Please don't protect infanticide. And so, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on the Judiciary would be discharged from further consideration of S-130 and that the Senate would proceed to the immediate consideration of that. I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read for a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Mr. President.
Senator from Washington.
Mr. President, we have laws against infanticide in this country. This is a gross misinterpretation of the actual language of the bill that is being asked to be considered, and therefore I object.
Objection is heard.
With all due respect, Mr. President.
Senator from Nebraska.
To the senator from Washington, the bill that we're talking about before this body tonight is because New York and Virginia, New York already, and Virginia in debate are having a conversation about removing exactly these protections. This debate is about infanticide and infanticide only, and this is a sad day for this body. It shouldn't be controversial to say that a newborn child deserves to be treated with dignity and humanity. It shouldn't be difficult to say that babies who survive an abortion shouldn't be left to die cold and alone on that table. I'm sad, but I'm not discouraged, Mr. President. I'm actually encouraged by the strong group of senators who have co-sponsored this legislation and who have come to the floor to support it tonight. And I'm encouraged by the millions and millions and millions of pro-life Americans who continue to speak the truth in love. There's legislative work that we need to do, but far more importantly, in the movement for love and life and science and little babies, what we need to have happen is a lot more persuasion and a lot more conversation with our neighbors, and a number of my colleagues on the floor tonight are prepared to do just that, and I look forward to listening to their eloquent and love-based, science-based speech. Thank you, Mr. President.